Hi, welcome to Harpin On Rugby. This is a bonus clip we recorded as part of our Six Nations preview, which you can be found on Apple, Spotify, and all major platforms. For that pod, I got together a panel of fellow Ireland fans from across the provinces, so I figured it'd be rude not to ask them to switch back to their own jerseys for a little bit. Starting with Mr. Pádraig Kelly, how are things doing out west?
It's been a mixed year. It really has. Started really well. I think we saw the limits of the squad, and I thought you could definitely see how we're having a new coaching ticket trying to bed in. We've got slaughtered for our use of a squad over the Champions Cup matches. Like, yeah, we're trying to get guys up to that level, so they have to play that level. We have the Challenge Cup run to come. I think having all those home games at the beginning of the year, then having Interpro, Challenge Cup, including Saracens and Bordeaux, like very good teams there. So apart from like you have that hard road, and now we're coming to the back end of the season where we have a dry track, which we love. We have more Welsh teams, which I love to see, and we have the Italian teams as well. We have a run in that suits. I think Connacht are very how can I describe this? We're that position where we are looking at being seventh or eighth in the table almost every year, mainly because we financially we're the fourth. We're not as well off as the other three provinces, whatever. Like that's grand. We're sorting that out. Thank you, Dexcom, for all your glorious money. Um, but so what we have to do is beat everyone else. And when we're not competing in Europe as well as making sure we're eighth every year, everyone's like, oh, what are your characters bad? I'm like, we don't have the resources. We're making most of what we do. Andrew Smith's turning into a great player. Diarmuid McCallan has turned into the player we know he has. Shane Bolton has appeared this year as another incredibly great winger. JJ and Jack are doing really well. Carl Ford has kept the form he's got on last year. Jack Anger is, for in my money, minimum the fourth, like should be in that kind of talked about in Ireland squads a bit more than he is. He's having a great season. We're developing young guys at the same time as bringing in the right types of imports, and for some weird reason, it's never enough. You need to do more of one and not the other. Like, grand lads, if you can magic up another 100,000 people that we can put into the province, that'd be great. And we rely on the club game for a lot of our development, especially at a young age. There are more AIL clubs in D4 than there are in Connacht as a province. Like sometimes I think that tends to be forgotten when it's like develop your own players. So it's stuff like that bugs me when you come to a season where at a point where we're still on track to be in the knockouts for the URC. Yes, we're in the knockouts of Challenge Cup, not particularly where we'd want to be. We want to be in the bigger money matches of the Champions Cup. But if we go on a run in Challenge Cup, then obviously we should make money on those. And I always think silverware is good. So let's win a trophy. I don't like Leinster celebrate their Challenge Cup just as much as the Champions Cup when they won it. So let's win that trophy. Let's go for those games. I think we are in a place where we can push on and challenge for those. We're gonna get Santi Cordero back for the run in. We're gonna he's gonna be affected like a new signing. We're gonna have Mac Hansen back from injury. We're gonna be in a place where we are gonna set the challenge, and we're against teams that we should be looking to beat and should be expected to beat. Like if we looked at the points that made top 8 last year for the knockouts, I can easily go 5 there, 4 there, 4 there, 5 there, 5 there, 4 there, and see us making that up very easily. So it's been a mixed beginning of the season, to say the least. Good start. The wheels start to come off the cart a small bit. But if you look at the fixture list, you see injuries coming back. Yeah, I can see this is a team that can go on a run. Will it be as good as last year's? Who knows? But we're going to be in there's no reason to say we won't be in the knockouts given the fixture list ahead of us, for sure.
Great stuff. Okay, well, now we're going to go over to Ian, who's tell us how Ulster season's gone so far.
I'm going to put myself on mute, I think. Well, if Connacht's having a mixed season, Ulster are definitely having a mixed season. It's been such a roller coaster this year so far, up and down. Beginning of the season wasn't great, but it was sort of offset with being able to blood a lot of young guys, a lot of academy players, a lot of guys just starting out in their journey, and that was a good thing. But since we've had our sort of full team available, the results just have not been good enough. Where's the blame lie? Probably a bit of both, but most fans that I've been speaking to, and certainly the podcast that you mentioned earlier on that I frequent, we have been questioning the coaching team all season at Ulster. It's there for the long haul, as far as we can see, and I just don't know where things are going to be change up, change down. It's difficult to know. We brought in Kitsoff, who has made a bit of an impact, but certainly not the impact that you would expect from a double World Cup winning loose head prop. Just words fail me at times. Last Saturday was extremely embarrassing, and sitting on the ground surrounded by Harlequin fans who were laughing at us. And would you blame them? No, certainly would not, because it was just comedic at times. Hopefully this period has given them a chance to settle and take stock of where they are. We have a tough run of games coming up, as I said last week in the podcast. The game against Ospreys away would have been seen at the beginning of the season as one that you might even be able to change the team up a wee bit and still get a win. The flip side of that now is that Ospreys have gone on a run and won 4 from 5 and are playing pretty well. And then we're off to South Africa for 2 tough games. So sitting, reasonably comfortably there in the middle of the top 8 in the league. So, wins we've got, maybe not as impressive as we would have liked. But
not even the one in Dublin.
Look, it was impressive to a point, Jeff. I didn't really get an opportunity to discuss it with the Leinster supporters or Leinster fans that I know. We did 3-4 things very, very well at the right time, got scores. And another game played in a week after that, same conditions, those opportunities might not have existed. Defended like our lives depended on it. My issue is, why can't you do that every week?
Yeah.
Yes, any win that you can get against Leinster, home or away, is always great. But to me, that's not going to define our season. Our season is going to be defined on how well we do in the matches that we're expected to win.
And would you expect him to have a good go for the Challenge Cup?
I'm a bit sort of tied on that one. I'm not 100% sure. The part of me would think, look, let's concentrate on the URC and make sure that we do get as high as possible, and hopefully into the top 4 and get a home quarter final. And yes, let's not send lambs to the slaughter in the Challenge Cup, but give guys like Harry Sheridan and Dave McCann and Izachukwu, give those guys the opportunity of going down to Montpellier and see how they get on. Montpellier is not the greatest. They're not the greatest team, although they've won 3 out of 4 in the Challenge Cup, but their league form's not that terribly good. So I'm not saying you know, dismiss it, but I would hope that or much prefer that we're targeting home quarter final. Financially, that's what we need. You know, Ulster are not as financially well off as they have been in the past. Something like almost £1 million down last year, and you know, you need to be having those big games at home to make that up that shortfall. So they have to be targeting at least a home quarter final, and get a full house in there.
Absolutely. And that, of course, leaves us with Patricia to give us the lowdown on all things Munster so far.
I live in Wexford, right? So this season has been a lot of long drives back from Limerick, just repeatedly going, I love my team, I love my team, I love my team. It's been a little bit frustrating. I think that Munster have earned an awful lot of benefit of the doubt, and like I'm more than willing to give that to them. Like if last season showed anything, it's that like Munster could lose games in December and January. It doesn't really matter because they'll win them in April and May. And not in a way of like, you know, oh, they did it last season, so they'll do it this season. It's obviously not a guarantee that they'll go on a run like that again. But I think that they've shown that when, you know, the ground hardens up and the players come back from injury, because like the injury situation at Munster so far this season has actually just been comical. Like no team could like put together consistent, you know, victories with an injury profile like that. They just couldn't, you know. It's, if you took the injury list that Munster have had, like those players are starting to come back. But if anyone who supports any team took that list of injured players and put it in the context of their own team, you'd go, oh, Jesus, like we wouldn't win any matches with these guys. Like their Heineken Cup campaign, a little bit disastrous, right? You know, the not beating Bayonne thing, the sort of losing to Exeter thing, the Northampton one I'll take away from that because they're just a really, really good team. So that's fine. But you know, they're where they want to be. They're in the knockout stages of the Heineken Cup. Obviously, that game should be in Thomond Park. It isn't. That's sort of, you know, the results that they got put them in that position.
They've been known to win the odds away European game.
This is it, you know, yeah. Like they're clearly a team under Roundtree and Leamy and Prendergast and Kiriakou who don't fear going anywhere. I don't think there's no team like. The only away game that I would like flat out say I don't think Munster would win is the Bulls, and that's because I don't think any team wins at the Bulls. It's kind of just like an automatic L for your season, and like it's the likelihood that that's where Munster would go in the Heineken Cup quarterfinal if they did beat Northampton, which is a shame because I do think that once this team gets their players back and they sort of tune, it's fine tuning for Munster, I suppose. And I think that, you know, there's kind of like, I don't want my words to come back and bite me, of course, but there's kind of no way they don't get into the knockout stages of the URC. It's kind of just where they are, you know, things are better in the URC than they looked last season. And, you know, they made it to the knockouts last season. We all know what happened from there. I think they will want to finish in that top four. I think that the games that they have a kind run in. You know, Pádraig was very sort of flippant about Welsh regions. Look, it's easier to lose to a Welsh region than you would think, right? Munster lost to 2 of them last season. I'm not saying that those are automatic W's because they're games against Welsh regions, but it's a kind run-in. You know, they played the difficult interpros. They were, you know, they went to Belfast, they went to Galway. They did obviously the 2 games against Leinster. You know, they played the Stormers, they played, you know, Glasgow. They played Benetton. They played the big teams already, and I think that they can get that top 4 in the URC from here. And like, that's obviously then a knockout game in Thomond Park and you go from there. I'm willing to wait to look at their season as a whole. I think like if the season was finished now, you know, diabolical, disaster season, like second season syndrome times a million. But I just don't fully believe that that's what it will look like at the end. I'm not saying I think that they'll go out and win more silverware, but I think that they'll be in the mix. I think they'll be there and thereabouts, sort of come, it's May and June now, I suppose, but like come the end of the season, I think that they will be in, you know, the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, and maybe even a final kind of thing. They're a difficult team to judge until, you know, it gets to peak. It's almost like, I feel like they're almost like an anti-Leinster in a lot of ways, because Leinster sort of breeze through all these regular season games and go, you know, judge us in April and May. And Munster are like that, except they just don't breeze through the earlier games. You know, they sort of stutter through November to March, and then it's like judge us in April and May. And that's sort of what I'm waiting for. I feel like their season doesn't start until after the Six Nations almost.
Great. Well, we'll see if that happens. Listen, that's brilliant, folks. Many thanks for coming on. We harp on Leinster week in, week out, so it's always get a good take on what's going on elsewhere. So thanks as ever for tuning into our YouTube channel. Please be sure to comment, like, share, and subscribe.